if it is true that the decision to marry is that important, then it stands to reason that you have to take your time as much as you can. Don't rush to get married. Don't be pressured to get married. Don't be forced to get married. Take time. Tell them, say, take time. Take time. Even they are married, I mean, just say take time. It's okay.
Take time.
Okay, take time. All right. Okay. So you want to get into it before you. Now, part of the reason why you don't want to rush into getting married is because, as far as God is concerned, marriage is permanent. Marriage is what?
Permanent.
Permanent. Yeah. You know, guess what? There are rehearsals for wedding. There's no rehearsal for marriage. Can I say it one time? There are rehearsals for a wedding. There is no rehearsal for marriage. So in some sense, marriage is like a one-way road. You can't reverse. What happens if you're going to reverse in a one-way road? Okay, you start what? You're going to cry. Somebody's going to run into you. So that's why it is important to take time before you get married. Okay? And now, how many of you have actually been driving somewhere and then you find somebody's up driving in the wrong direction, the opposite direction? Have you seen that? That's dangerous, okay? It's very dangerous. And if you're not careful, you know, your life will be taken out prematurely. But anyway, now, it's also true to say that there is no set time when you have to get married. In other words, there is no time in the Bible that says this is the time for you to get married. It's very important. So it all depends on the circumstances you find yourself in. Some folks, it's interesting that some of my colleagues were together in the university. They have grandchildren. I don't have a grandchild. It's interesting. It all depends because, it all depends when they got married anyway, Okay, let me just throw it out there. And the first time I saw my wife to be, okay, the first time, I married her 8 years later. 8 years later. Okay? 8 years later. I saw her in this year and I married her 8 years later. And when I saw her, I knew it was my wife. I've told you this story before. Okay, I knew. How? Okay, how did I know? Well, I knew. That's what it means, you see. There's some of those things that you just get. But here's the point. And I have never, there is nothing, oh my goodness, I wish I might, no, I'm telling you. God knows my heart. When I saw that's my wife, that's it. In some ways, that's what God wants us to get for. But you don't want to get married and you are actually praying, and you can imagine your wife or your husband finds you in the basement or somewhere in your home, and you're praying, Lord, is this the right person for me to get married? No, it's too late. You're married already. You can't be asked, is the right person? Where is the right? Once you marry someone, by implication, the person is the right person. Okay, let me say one more time. Once you're already married, the question of whether the person is right or not doesn't even arise. You're married already. Yeah, I know. All right, okay. Now, watch this also. You see, a marriage is a covenant, not a contract. A marriage is what? Is a covenant and not a contract. Now, what's the difference between the two? Well, a covenant, listen, a covenant is entered into in God's presence. Okay? God is a witness to a covenant. But a contract is entered into before human beings. So you can just sign papers. Okay, yeah, it's a deal, let's do this. That's it. And now, I don't even misunderstood. It's okay, we go through the courts to sign things and we get married and all that. But those kind of marriages, in some ways, they sound more or less like contracts, not covenants. Or you're only making a pledge before the justice or the judge whatsoever. Okay, but in a serious sense of the marriage institution itself, it was primarily intended for God to be the primary witness to the marriage. remember this, okay, before we read the Bible here. You see, when God created Eve, brought Eve before who?
Adam.
You know, by the way, you ask yourself, you wonder, why is it that a man, a father of a bride, walks out down the aisle? Because it is God himself who first walked who? Eve to Adam. In the Garden of Eden. Okay. So anytime you see a father holding the daughter walking down the aisle, just remember God. Go to the first one. Okay. And in the Church of Pentecost, what we do, we say, before we even exchange the vows, we say, who gives this woman to be married to this man? And the father has to come, raise his hand, I do. Why does he raise his hand? He's pointing to God. Yes, I'm standing on your behalf. I do. Very important. Before the father makes that, declaration, or someone representing him, the marriage will not take place. No matter what happens, if the person is held up in traffic, we'll have to wait for the service. The traffic should clear. The person must be there. And we don't get married. Anyway. Now, this is just for, let me just throw it out there. Listen. Don't eat the apple before you walk the aisle. Don't eat the apple before you walk the aisle. The consequences are catastrophic. Okay, you're speaking in parables, right? You understand that. All right. Now, let's read some scriptures here. Now, the first point I want us to consider has to do with marital or relational purity. Now, in Matthew chapter 1, verse number 18, New Living Translation, I want us all to read from the screen, okay? If you can. Want to read? This is how Jesus, the Messiah, was born. His mother, Mary, was engaged to be married to Joseph. But before the marriage took place, while she was still a virgin, she became pregnant through the power of the Holy Spirit. Now, this is very important. If you read other verses, while she was betrothed or engaged, pledged, okay, to be married. Notice here that though Jesus and rather Joseph and Mary were engaged, betrothed, if you will, pledged to marry, they never had intimacy. This is very important. I'm saying this because I've heard some people say, oh, after we've done traditional marriage, we've actually engaged, and then we can go and to the mall. No, you can't go to the mall. Are you still here? Mary and Joseph were what? Were engaged. Pledged. Parents signed off. Yes. Yes, we're going to do this. Maybe they exchanged some gifts here and there. And yet, she was a virgin. It's important for us to think about this. So don't be misled into thinking, oh, after all, our parents know each other, they've come together and they've done everything. In fact, we've exchanged gifts and all that. No. You see, marriage itself does not begin until actually it is entered into before God. Now, I want to be very careful here because in certain cultures, maybe somebody may have what is called the traditional marriage. I'm not saying traditional marriage here. I'm talking about what? Engagement. Do you understand? Okay? Because in some places, people may have what? Traditional marriage, which does not involve this Western phenomenon of wearing the veils and all those kind of. I'm not talking about that. But what I'm saying that a pledge, an engagement itself, does not give you or anybody else any right whatsoever to begin to enjoy the benefits of marriage. There's a difference between what? Engagement and what? Marriage. Very important. Okay. All right. So, hear this. He said, God sent an angel, Gabriel, to Mary, to the house. So God knows where you live. And sent his angel, go to this address, go there. There is a virgin there. Guess what? It means God knows when you break your virginity. My God. God knows when you break your what? Your virginity. Yes. Lights may be off. The whole place is closed. But God is watching. Oh, yes. The eyes of the Lord, they move to and fro across the face of the earth to look at the faithful. I had a colleague. Now, these are some of the things that happened. When I went to the university, I was surprised. One day, I had gone out for a meeting, and when I came back on campus, well, this is my room, isn't it? I have a roommate, and I just opened the door. When I opened the door, and I found that there was somebody lying in the bed of my, well, look, there are two people. So what's going on here? I thought it's just my roommate. Not knowing that my roommate had brought a roommate. I had no idea. And you know, I thought for a moment, I was there less than 30 seconds. I just advised myself. What I didn't like was the fact that my roommate knew it for sure that I was born again. And that kind of behavior I wouldn't put up with. And it's very sad. But both of us were actually soccer players. We were playing together on the school team. So that's how we became buddies. But unfortunately, you know, that's why it's dangerous for you to marry an unbeliever. But the way they see things, that's the way you do. There is a difference. You have different worldviews, different philosophies, different values, if you will. Okay? Anyway, and so look at 2 Corinthians chapter number 11, verse number 2. The text at the very bottom. Can we read that? At the bottom. Okay, 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse number 2. Can we read? Want to begin? I am jealous for you with a godly jealousy. I promise you to one husband, to Christ, so that I might present you as a what? As a pure virgin. Now think about this. This is Paul. He's using the metaphor of the virginity between a what? An unmarried man and a married woman. By the way, virginity is not just for women. Virginity also applies to who? To men. Sometimes men want to get away from this. No. It's very important. It's for both. Okay. You can't be going around yourself here playing around games over there and asking. Now, it's unfortunate. And one day I remember somebody asked a question, and for some reason he said, what can I do to marry a virgin? I was fascinated by the question. What kind of a question is this? What can I do to marry a virgin? So I said, all right. I asked him a question. Are you a virgin? And he said, no. I said, so why do you want to marry a virgin? Just get even. In fact, if I were God, I would make sure you marry somebody who's a virgin. That's the point. So don't raise the standard as far as your prospective spouse is when you yourself don't meet the what? The standard itself. It's called hypocrisy. What is it called? Hypocrisy. All right. I hope that helps. And so, listen, when you're not married, when you're still, listen to this. Now, when we say that even when you're engaged, you're not supposed to engage in what? In intimacy. How much more you're not even engaged? Did you hear the question? If we are saying that Mary and Joseph were engaged, betrothed, but they were not intimate, how much more you just met 3 weeks ago? Hello, hi. And you met maybe somewhere at Starbucks. Hi. 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 Oh, the second time say hi, you know something's going on here. And anyway, and so, now, and remember this. Now, please, listen to this. The scripture says, whatsoever a man sows, a woman sows, that shall he or she also what? Reap. That is it. Now, I wasn't fortunate enough maybe to listen to some of these teachings we are doing here personally. And yet, but for some reason, somehow, I had that sense of conviction within me. In fact, I hated boys who took advantage of girls. I hated that. I remember I had a friend of mine who I saw him was talking to this young girl, and I said to myself, my God, what's going on here? And then one day I said, listen, the next time I'm going to see you talking to this girl, I tell you honestly, I'm going to talk to her parents. And he said, why? I said, no, because I know what you want to do to this girl.
Oh.
You're not even interested in what? In marrying. It's not going to destroy her future.
Oh, Jesus.
And that's a problem. Let me tell you something. A lot of young men are wolves. Okay, did I say that? Yes, I said it. I will say it again. A lot of young men are what?
Wolf.
They are wolf. You know a wolf? Have you seen a picture of a wolf? Look at its teeth. It's here to bite. If you're not careful, you young ladies especially, I'm telling you, the most vulnerable people are girls. That's the point. You see? So be careful. Anyway, so let's think about now. Since most of us are not married, I already made the point here. That marriage is what? Marriage is permanent. Marriage is what? Permanent. You know, there is a certain paint. I think it's oil paint. So oil paint. Yeah. So oil paint. Now, before I go to the oil paint, I said, can we all read on the screen? Read it. Cheating on your spouse is just as abominable as cheating on your God. So don't say, oh, it's okay. She doesn't know anything. She doesn't have to know anything. God knows everything. My God. That's God's child. All right. Let's now on the marriage permanence itself. I remember somebody who told me, he said, God called me to serve him, but I married the devil. I said, you married the devil? I said, how would that be? He called his wife a devil. Do you know, let me ask you a question. How many of you know that a lot of times when people talk about witchcraft, they think about women? Do you know that? Or you don't know that? When people talk about witchcraft, they think about what? Yeah, in fact, the word witch itself implies what? It's what is the opposite of a witch is a female person, right? Mm-hmm. When you say a wizard, it's a male. But people don't talk about wizard. It's not a common term, wizard. We talk about witchcraft because we think witchcraft is women who fly at night. But men too fly at night. In fact, there are many of them. My God. Tell your neighbors, are you wizard or witch? Are you witch or wizard? Ask, no, don't ask. Don't ask. Okay. Yeah. And by the way, so those who go in the night, ask yourself, if you're sneaking out of your home, your school dorm, your home at night, just remind yourself, just remember me. Like Reverend, I told you I don't like apostle, I like Reverend. In fact, I get right Reverend. Most Reverend, the very Reverend Banana say, if you seek out at night of your dorm, you are a witch or a wizard. Yes. Okay. Write it down. We'll need that one tomorrow. Okay. Okay. Now watch this. On 7. The strength of a marriage depends upon its foundation on God. My God. The strength of a marriage depends on what? Its foundation on who? On God. If your marriage, if your relationship has no foundation in God, that particular marriage or relationship is shaky. That's very important. And guess what? If somebody cheats you before you get married, he or she will cheat you when you get married. If somebody cheats on you before you get married, there is a high likelihood that particular individual will cheat on you when you get married. All right. I know. If there's some confusion, don't worry, okay? There'll be time for repent and all that. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about divorce. Chapter number 10. Okay. Mark 10. Let's read. Okay. Let's read quickly. For instance, when we begin, the Pharisees came and asked him, is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife? Testing him. Continue. And he answered and said to them, what did Moses command you? They said, Moses permitted a man to write a certificate of divorce and to dismiss her. And Jesus answered and said to them, because of the hardness of your heart, he wrote this precept. But from the beginning of the creation, God made them male and female. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So then they are no longer two, but are one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no man separate. You know, in the church of Pentecost, in the church, you can never come to me, for example, as a minister and say, I want to get divorced. I have no opinion on it. I have no, you know why? God has an opinion. In fact, it's not even opinion. Opinion suggests that somebody is negotiating. You can think otherwise. No, God has a decree on it. I said marriage is permanent. Okay? Divorce is not on God's agenda. By the way, even when somebody cheats on you, it doesn't guarantee that you have to divorce the person. You can also choose to forgive the person. Can I say one more time? The fact that somebody has actually cheated on you, it doesn't follow that it's time to pack your things. No. You can also choose to what? To forgive. That's it. Listen, I have learned this. It is easier for a girl to forgive a boy, a guy, for cheating on her than for a guy to forgive when a girl cheats on him. Oh God, right down and down, you need it. You will need it. You will need. I'm telling you, that's breaking news right there. You will need this one. Don't take it for granted. I told you, guys, we are very selfish. We are very selfish. We are very, very selfish. Very, very selfish. I'm telling you, very, very selfish. Very selfish. Very, very selfish. Including me, very selfish.
Hey,
Very, very selfish.
I like that.
Very selfish. I'm telling you. You see, I don't mind. Okay, let me leave it there.
Apostle, say it, please. say it all.
Now, you see, although I'm reverend, right reverend, the most reverend, the very reverend, if I see a man looking at my wife in some way, I don't like it. Did you hear what I said? If I see somebody's looking at my wife in some way, just in some way, okay. But I'm telling you honestly, anyway, let's look on the screen. Probability of divorce, what? Increases with each new marriage relation. You know, research establishes that. If your first marriage fails, there is a higher likelihood that your second marriage also will collapse. If you go to the third marriage, it gets worse. Think about this. It's just like sin. You see, when you commit sin the first time, it becomes easier for you to what? To commit the same sin the second time. That's why, even before you get married, don't rush into becoming intimate with your prospective. The moment you're going to do once, you go twice, thrice, etc., etc. Okay. Okay, now what kind of test, before you say I do, let's think about some tests. These are the tests you have to administer to your prospective spouse or to yourself. Number one is the test of faith. Test of what? Faithfulness. Test of what? Faithfulness. Test of faithfulness. Test of faithfulness. Now, ask yourself a question. Has your prospective spouse ever cheated on you? Don't dismiss it. Don't ignore it. Because tomorrow, it will jump right back in your face. Okay? Or, do you have doubts about the integrity of your prospective spouse? In other words, do you question yourself? I don't think there is integrity in my either spouse or prospective one. Once you begin to think along those lines, something is wrong. Well, there is a saying, it's the way there is what? There is smoke, there is what?
Fire.
There's fire. It's not in the Bible, but sounds good. It's born out of experience. Yes. You know. And now these days, you can lock your phone and all those kind of things. You know, I can give my wife my phone 1 year to go through my phone. There'll be no second I'm going to be concerned. My God, what's she going to find out? And I said, I can give my wife 1 year my phone. Look at this phone. Go through. There's no need for prayer.
God bless you.
A wicked man flees when no one is pursuing him or her. But the righteous are as bold as a lion.
Amen.
Somebody said, when you speak the truth, you don't have to remember anything. When you what? When you speak the truth, you don't have to what? To remember anything. The truth is the same. But when you lie, you always have to think about, what did I say the last time? To make sure you don't have to contradict the way what you said previously. That's the point. Okay? Now, ask yourself a question. Do you consider your prospective spouse faithful before God and before man? I know. Sometimes some people say, I don't care about human beings. It's not what people say. It's what God says. It is true. But it's also true that sometimes what people say may also be true. Isn't it? Yeah. Because people see you. They work with you. What's the point? They see you lunchtime. You're with this girl. Lunchtime with this guy. And you're married. Just the two of you are married. But by the way, you see, that reminds me. When I first came to this country, and I go to a prayer meeting. I was praying with my buddy from Liberia. And after we done with prayer, we just held hands. We just walked in the prayer room, just catching a breath and all that. And the next day, I found myself in the office of the director of admissions, international students. I said, what is he? He said, somebody saw you guys holding hands. It didn't make sense. I said, what? He said, somebody saw you holding hands. I said, yes. Yes, I remember we were holding hands. And they said, that's inappropriate. How? How is that inappropriate? He said, because somebody thinks you guys were, you are attracted to each other. I said, God forbid. See? But later on, I had to lend another one, the better one, to fear one. But I said, I wish I had said that, but I never said that. But you know, it's very interesting. It never occurred to me. I said, how is that so? How can a man joke? But later I realized that, well, it is true. In some cultures, in some contexts, that may indicate something else. Listen, he said, therefore, a man shall what? Leave his father and mother and be married to his wife. The implication is, marriage is between what? A biological male and a biological female. Marriage is never between a man and another man. A woman and another woman. Not today, not tomorrow, not forever. I'm telling you, don't buy any lie from the pit of hell. It's never true. It doesn't matter. Even if Congress says it is legal. Listen, the fact that something is legal, it doesn't make it's acceptable in God's own side. Can I get a witness in here?
Amen.
Very important. Okay? So if someone has told you, or you told someone you are attracted to people of the same sex, you need deliverance. You need what?
Deliverance.
You need deliverance. And I mean it. So please, I am available, and the leaders are available. We can help you to get out of that. It's dangerous. Okay? It's very dangerous. You know what? That reminds me. I had gone somewhere. I don't know what place this was. Yes. I had gone with the Awaka to some place else. I came to some basketball event. And we are going to restroom, the two of us. Obviously, this male restroom. And as we were there were a lot of folks there, just standing, waiting for our turn. And then I noticed that I'm looking at this. This one looks like a girl. What's going on here? And I was looking at my Stanley Walker. Elga was looking at me. Elga said, okay, what's going on here? I said, am I in the wrong spot? Oh, and it is true. I don't know. Maybe it was somebody who migrated, right? Do you understand? Migrated from the other side to this side. It's very interesting. We're coming from, we were where? I went in Kansas last weekend. I go to Kansas at the airport, and I remember the airport, and so I tell Mama, oh, I want to go use the bathroom before we get on the plane. And then she said, oh, okay, let's go ahead. And as I was about to go into this bathroom, I realized it said all genders. I said, what? All genders? I said, God forbid. So my wife said, have you used the bathroom? I said, no, I haven't used the bathroom. Why? I said, look at it. It's all gender. I said, no, I don't want to see anything at all. And I advised myself, these are serious things. These are serious things, folks. Okay? Yeah. Anyway, in the interest of time, let me just rush here. And yeah. And one time I go to listen to me. I went to a seminary. I was using the library when I was doing my dissertation at the seminary. This is seminary. And I'm in the library. I said, you know what? Okay, it's time to go to the bathroom. It's a bathroom break. And when I enter the bathroom, you don't think about some of these things. I just entered the bathroom. While in the bathroom there, I realized that a phone rang. When the phone rang, I said, oh, there's another person in the other side. Yeah. And I heard a female voice. Hi. My heart started pumping. I thought I made a mistake and go to women's bathroom. Dear God. The speed with which I organized myself and got out of that place. But then, when I walked out, and I saw there was a sign, it said gender neutral. Yes. Anyway, so text of it. So if your perspective is unfaithful before you marry, she won't change once you are married. Oh my goodness. If somebody is not faithful to you before you get married, young people, listen to me. Your heart is going to be broken. Your heart is going to be broken. I don't care how much you convince yourself, I'm going to pray against it. No. It's not a prayer matter. It's called wisdom. It's called what? Wisdom. All right. So the test of faithfulness. Test of faithfulness. So somebody you want to marry must pass the test of what? Faithfulness. Number 2, the test of focus. Test of what? Focus. Some people have no direction in life. Some people have no what? Have no direction in life. If you come to say you want to marry my daughter, let me just give you an example. Okay? Expect me to ask you a question. What do you do? Don't tell me you go to church. That's not the answer I'm asking for. No. What do you do? Why? Because you have to take care of my daughter. Are you getting the point? That's the point here. That's generally speaking. Okay? So, I think John Hagee said a story. He said somebody had gone to his home in San Antonio, Texas, and rang the bell. And when he got out, he said, there was a young man there. I said, oh, does so live here? I said, yes. He was referring to his daughter. And he says, oh. And he says, oh, I've come to see her. Immediately, John Hagee said, no, you're in the wrong spot. This is the wrong house. So wait a minute. You just confirmed to me that so-and-so lives here. And you've come to see her. And immediately, John Hagee said, no, you're in the wrong spot. You know what? He said, the way John Hagee saw the guy was dressed, he said, there's no way my daughter under God's heaven is going to be afraid of this young man. It's not going to happen. I don't blame him. I'll do the same thing. I maybe do worse. Why? Because my title is the very reverend, the most reverend, the right reverend. Can you imagine somebody's, okay, let me not go there, I can't go too far on that one, okay? Yeah. Okay, so, listen, you ask yourself a question. Does your prospective spouse compare you to other people? When you hang around, oh, you're all like, oh, how many people are you comparing me to? Let me throw this one in. Anybody you enter into a relationship with before you marry, they will always be in your mind when you get married. Let me say one more time. Anybody you enter into a relationship with before you get married, those people will always be in your psyche while you're married. So when you go to bed with your spouse, you go to bed with those people at the back of your mind.
Serious.
Now the scripture says, whoever has intimacy with another person becomes what? Is one person with that person. It's on a deeper level. It's not just a physical issue. It's also what? It's a spiritual issue. It's a psychological issue. It stays with you. That's the point. So that's why the more people you get to know, or to just be blunt, the more people you sleep around with, the more people you sleep with in your bed if you get married. That's the problem. So you might as well stop now. That's the point. And unfortunately now you're even living in a world where social media is giving you access to everything. It used to be the case of myself. These days you can be in your own home. So I live by myself. No, don't cheat us or don't tell us that. You can live by yourself. Meanwhile, you live with all kinds of people. You know, you see them on the social media. God knows you. Now, let me tell you something. I told you, Bible school. You'll be surprised how many people are going to chapel, morning chapel, and say, if there's anybody here who's struggling with sexual issues, come to the front. My God. Almost everybody will come to the front. And I was asking myself a question. If those of us in Bible school were responding to this altar call, then what about those who are in some school studying something else? It's dangerous. Okay? Anyway, so one focus on God will more likely focus on his or her spouse than not. In other words, if God blesses you, you find somebody, you marry somebody, you're going with somebody who is focused on God, there is a good chance that particular individual will focus on you. Why? Well, that person, you see, doesn't want to work to dishonor God. You see, you look at your spouse or your prospective spouse through the lens of what? Through the lens of God. I had one principle when I was growing up. I'm not going to have intimacy with anybody's child because I don't want anybody to have intimacy with any of my children. God forbid. That was my principle. It helped me. I had a friend of mine, very close friend in the neighborhood, and he would actually boss around, take delight. Oh, I slept with that girl. I slept with this girl. I slept with this girl. My God. I don't just recall what age was it. In the 20s, about 23, he died. He just died like that. He died. And he died because he had contracted some sexual illness. I'm very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. Oh yeah. And let me tell you something. Yes, listen to me. Listen to me. I have a man I know. My wife knows the one I'm talking about. Only my wife knows it. I'm telling you here. And I went to visit someone. And obviously, see, I'm asking, oh, what's wrong with this particular individual? This person has been in the hospital for, it's not getting, getting close for 2 years. 2 years. And when I heard the story, I said, well, let me go and visit this particular individual. And I was there and all that. And I sat, I'm telling you. So I asked the physician, he said, what's wrong with this individual? I said, oh, no, it's confidential. Obviously, in privacy, they can't just tell you all what's that. I said, oh, by the way, I am actually, he's my cousin. He said, oh, no, it's not. It doesn't matter. Your name has to be there. I said, that's so. I said, I'm reverend. He said, it doesn't make any difference. Reverend, you don't respect reverend? Cut my long story short, what a young man. I grew up together with this man. My God, such a handsome guy. Grew up in a very wealthy family. Very wealthy family, a decent guy and all that. But then, long story short, I had no idea, not now, he had contracted HIV. In this time of this, I'm telling you, when they turned him, I was there. When they turned this guy around for me to see, I broke down within me. I said, God, why? I knew this guy. I know this guy. He's just a year older than I. And I said, oh God, I'm telling you, people, listen to me, listen. When I saw this guy, it's like there is nowhere this is in this country. In this country. I'm trying to make another trip right now to go and visit him. Okay? When I saw this guy, Jesus, the body has changed. It's like somebody's dead already. Okay? But there is one thing that I remember when I saw all these things. I remember that because when we were growing up, because they were so affluent, money and all that, somehow I noticed he lived a reckless life. Where I remember in those days, just getting drunk and all those things, driving some nice cars with some girls and all those kind of things. I don't even know when this happened. Anyway, the sad part is that he married, and his wife has never visited him. And I don't even know what the story. I'm here to get, but anyway, let me get out of that. But hopes I think the point has been made. Number two, the act number, whatever number is it, the test of I think we read this one. The test of what? Test of future. Test of what? Future. Think about this. The person you're going to marry, you're going to live with that person. Can you live with that person for 6 decades, 60 years, 70 years, 80 years? What will happen? So you don't just think about today, you're thinking about tomorrow. Okay? So are you confident? Okay? So listen, let's read from the script. Listen. Read. If you can't endure your perspective, you won't endure when married. In other words, listen, think about the future. Think long term. Don't just think about today. Oh, he looks good, looks cute. He's a guy. Everybody talks about him on campus. No, people don't live on campus. They graduate or they are kicked out, or whatever the post may be. You're going to live somewhere. It'll be the two of you. Can I get a witness in here?
Amen.
So think about the future. Can you live with that person for the rest of your life? Are you sure? That's the point. When you do the vows, it said, for better, for worse, in sickness and in health. To death, what? Do us part. So those, don't take those things lightly. And you know something? I think, as I'm standing here, I'm older than all of you here. I'm older than all of you. I never knew I'd be in a place where I have been in places by God's grace where I'm probably one of the youngest people in the room. And I was an elder. I'm telling you, I've been in the presbytery that you see the people that are older and all those. I've seen it all. I have seen it all. I have been among great men. I have seen it. And yet, I see something that, oh my goodness. I think a lot of times, most of us, we make mistakes because we don't sort of think about the potential consequences of our actions. Somebody said this. Before you do anything, the way you evaluate whether that particular thing is beneficial or not, imagine yourself that you have to make this decision and think about the consequences that is going to ensue or follow by virtue of making that decision, and ask yourself, can I live this kind of life? I know it sounds very metaphysical or abstract, but it makes it, for example, suppose you say, I want to divorce. Can you live in that particular state of divorce? And for how long? And all that. And think about all the other consequences, okay? All right. So, on the second question you actually say, do you see your prospect as a responsible dad or mom to your kids? In other words, the guy you are looking at this time, do you think can be a dad to your kids? A mom to your kids? Listen, and listen, pay attention here. There is a young lady who told me, something. She said, I regret. I said, what do you regret? She told me, she said, I regret when my daughter was young, very young and all that, I used to bring guys to come and sleep with me in my home just like that until whatever age she was. And then she said, I realized my daughter is doing the exact same thing. Very interesting. My daughter is the exact same thing. And then she asked me a question. She said, Reverend, is it possible that something happens maybe? I thought maybe my daughter was young, so she wouldn't notice anything. But you see, I told you, sexual intimacy is more than physical. It's a spiritual issue. The child may not see you physically, but there is something going on. A seed is being sown. One of these days, and she was in tears. And I didn't know what to do. Pray with her and all that. In fact, when I saw the daughter, I could tell the story. She looked like a troubled child. A troubled child. Very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. All right. Let me ask you a question. Ask yourself a question of the future. If you lost everything you have today, would your wife, would your husband stick with you? If you lost everything, yesterday, our father, the former chairman of the Church of Pentecost, Apostle Dr. Ntuli, was buried yesterday. This man, I remember very well. I think in 2007, I was sitting right behind him. And in those days, I had no idea that he was having some problems with his back and all that. And then he took off his shoes and was preaching there. Then I said to myself, what has happened to Chairman? What's going on? Nobody was struggling with that. Long story short, because he was involved in a car accident that affected him. Anyway, they did surgery on him, and he was told the chances of him remaining really in a wheelchair for the rest of his life are just very, very high. They decided to go ahead with the surgery, and you know the consequences. He was in this wheelchair. Now, I started thinking, I wanted to tell my wife near me, I said, this is interesting. So, for the past 15 years or so, that our father, the chairman, was in a wheelchair, it means this man needed somebody to bath him, to take him to bathroom, to do all these kind of things. Then I said, wow, thank God for Mama Martha, his wife. Okay, I'm telling you, there are some spouses. If a spouse found themselves in that situation, they're checking out. It's over. They can't put up with that. So ask yourself, suppose you face some sort of a tragedy, will your husband, will your wife stick with you? There is a story. Listen, I hate to tell you this. There is a story I know. My wife is here.
From the phone.
There is a man who suffered, I think it's stroke. The man suffered from stroke, and therefore he's basically very unfortunate. And I heard of the story, and unfortunately, because it's a different denomination, and a relative wanted me maybe to wait to see maybe I could help, but they just couldn't do anything about it. The man himself is a stroke, and rumors started going out that the woman brings men into the house. The husband is in that room, lying on the bed. He's mobilized. The woman is having intimacy with another man in another house. Do you know what makes the whole thing worse? That man was actually a pastor. Did you hear what I just said? The man was a what? The man was a pastor. How could that be? How could it? Can you imagine? Yeah. So, yeah, those of you please sit down real quick, okay? So as I'm beginning to wrap up here. Okay. So ask yourself. So let's read from the screen. Read from the screen 1 to 4. If you feel hopeless or helpless with your perspective, think deeply. Don't be naive. If something is telling you that there's something fishy here, there's something wrong here, there's something awkward, there's something weird, there's something off, don't dismiss that thought. Take it seriously, pursue it, and get to the bottom of it, address it before things get out of hand. All right. Okay. Let's think about the test of familiarity. Test of what? Familiarity. Okay? Test of what? When you say familiarity, to what extent do you know the person you want to marry? Okay? To what extent do you what? Do you know the person? Now, it's not enough to say, oh, she looks cute, he looks cute, whatever the case might be. Once you marry, it's a different story. Oh, by the way, you know when people are getting married, women, they look very different. You heard women, they look different. Their foundation, all kind of things like that, they look very different and all that. One day I went for a what do you call that, a traditional wedding, marriage. Dear God, I'm telling you, this was a member of my church, not my church. I said, no, the church I pastored, a member of my church. When I walked in the room, I asked my wife, is the bride coming? And my wife said, the bride is here. I said, the bride is not here. I said, no, what do you mean? I said, the bride is, she's there. I couldn't recognize her. She changed. She changed. So I always encourage young men, before you marry a girl, go visit her early in the morning, just pass by her home. Just pass by her home. Get to see the real deal first. The original look. The fresh look, isn't it? Yeah, okay. Or it's like those who have what? The natural hair, right? The natural hair. You've been seeing the wigs and all those things. Okay. One day, I remember I was with my wife. This one, I'm not going to tell you, I'm talking my wife. I was with my wife. And then we are there, and then my wife was like, yeah, what happened? Yes. And then I think the wig was falling off. They said, hey, Banyana, wait for me. I said, wait for you what? He said, my wig. Oh, I didn't know it's a wig. Oh, is it a wig? Oh. But you know, and I was saying to myself, but why is she worried about this wig? She looks just nice without this wig. But you know, it's okay. Women, I will never miss you. You see me? When I go to barber, you see, when I go to barber, you see, I've come to the point right now, there's no style. No, there's no style. Just grab that machine and just zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out. Phew, 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 phew. I'm out of here. But the girls, they're there for hours. They're gonna check themselves. Yeah, that's it. It's all a mess. Oh, God of Abraham, help us. All right. So, but you know, we are created differently. You have to take care of yourself. That's how God created you. All right. You know, there is a saying that better the devil you know than the angel you don't. Huh? There is what? It's better the devil you know than the angel you don't. Listen, I would rather have my child marry somebody I know than somebody I don't. If somebody I know, at least I know what to expect. I know this man, the boy that my daughter is marrying, the girl my son is marrying, I know he or she has these issues. At least I have a prayer point. I'll be praying about it. But if I don't know who this devil is, I have no idea. Once you get married, dear God, you'll be fasting the whole day. Fasting for months. Okay? Anyway. So let me put it this way, make it point. Don't marry a stranger. Don't marry what? A stranger. Don't be naive. Don't marry a stranger. All right. Okay, think about the test of friendship. Test of what? Friendship. But it's a blessing. Marry a friend. Marry what? Marry a friend. Marry a friend. A friend is somebody Because one of these days, a friend, I was so tired. You see, I was so tired. And I said, the last thing that my wife has to tell me here is we're going to do Bible study. Yeah, I'm too tired. This is just after midnight, or just about midnight. And I'm so tired, and I had to do something, I think, in the 4 in the morning. And guess what? My wife, I just turned off my light on my side. Turned off my light. And then she said, oh, so what are you doing? So what am I doing? I just turned off the light. I said, so what about the Bible study? I said, which Bible study? He said, this body is tired. He said, no, you can't say. I said, you can't say that. And I thought for a moment, it's okay. I said, my wife, you're talking to the very reverend, the most reverend, right reverend. But you see, but because we are friends, I just turn on the light. Let's do the Bible study. I said, we are friends. That's the point. What a blessing to marry a friend. Don't marry your enemy. Hello, marry a friend. A witch. Oh, it's a witch? Or a wizard. All right, okay. So ask yourself, to what extent do you know your prospective spouse? Okay? Do you consider your prospective spouse a friend? Ask yourself, does he or she love your company? How does she or he behave when her friends or his friends come around? Some of them, the people distance yourself. Hi. Do you know him or like, we just met? No, you know him. And you know her. Okay. In other words, listen, write this one down. Whoever cannot introduce you in public, don't marry them. Whoever cannot introduce you in public, don't marry them. You will regret. If your prospective doesn't delight in your company, you'll be lonely. If your prospective doesn't delight in in your company, you are going to be lonely. That's the point. All right. Okay. So let me see. Wow. Okay, I think let me just wrap that out. I'll address maybe some questions real quick here. And the test of faith, I think this should be obvious. The test of what? Faith. Test of faith. We said that don't marry an unbeliever. Don't say, I'm going to pray for you to be saved. He's not going to be saved. He's a devil. No, he's not a devil. He's not saved. But my point here is that, listen, if you tell a young man, I won't marry you unless you are born again. A young man is wise enough. Tomorrow he'll tell you, oh, by God's grace. By God's grace. What happened? It just happened. What is it? I'm born again. Of course. Of course. The young man is born again. Okay. Yes. By the way, may I say this? This is the right place for you to get married to. So when you come to church, don't close your eyes. Open your eyes. The Bible says watch and pray. It doesn't pray and watch. Watch and pray. You watch first and then pray. You don't pray and watch. You watch and pray. So when you come to church like this, any Sunday you come here, know that there is a good chance you may meet somebody who's going to spend the rest of your life with you. That's the point. So it's a good place to be here. Tell them, it's a good place to be here. It's a good place. Yes. You see, if you meet it matters where you meet your prospective spouse in. Listen. I met a girl, and I said, this young lady, anyway, I think Mama knows this particular individual. I don't mention the name. But I said, wow, this young lady, wow, what a beautiful girl, and all that. And she was sitting next to this guy. The guy too was a very interesting, he was a character, to use that term. And I said, and when the service was over, I was trying to greet these people, she had come the first time. And she mentioned her name. I said, so-so is my husband. So-so is your husband. I mentioned the guy's name. All I remember this guy, whenever I come to is the way you dance in the church. The guy had a special dance. I said, is this your husband? Wow, this is interesting. So I asked. Later on, they started having some problems. So I asked him, so how did you meet? He said, we met at the club. Now, that fascinated me, because this guy was in the church. And they met at the club. I said, bingo, I know where the problem is coming from. If you meet at the club, your marriage will be a club. I'm telling you, your home will be a club. That's it. So that's what. So don't take it lightly. Don't take it lightly. Don't take it lightly. They met at the club and they were sharing some drinks. And unfortunately, they divorced already. Okay, maybe this one, let me rush it. The test of family. Test of what? Test of family. Test of family. On the test of faith, on test of faith, can you bring me that statement? Let's bring up on the test of faith. The statement, if you're prospective. Okay, so listen to it. If your prospective doesn't encourage you to pray about an issue that you are facing before you get married, you will never pray about it when you get married. In other words, if you don't pray before you get married, you will never pray when you get married. I'm telling you, you won't become a prayer warrior overnight. No. If a guy tells you, if you ask the guy, can we have some time to pray? He said, no, I'm tired. Every time I'm tired. But he has time to go and play games, video games and all that. Something is wrong. Something is seriously wrong. Okay, test of family. Listen, you must know. Ask yourself, how much do you know of the family you're marrying? Well, guess what? You don't just want one person. You are marrying everybody behind that person. You are marrying is the siblings, everybody. In other words, you see, when you decide to marry someone, you decide to live with his family. I can't tell you how many people, as a minister, I have come across. They don't get along with their in-laws. They get on my nerves. I couldn't believe it. I saw a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law get to each other. How was it in the meeting? My wife. I sat there, I said, dear God, my God, I never knew this kind of a thing would happen. They are going back and forth. The young girl said, no, you're this, you can't say that. And the woman too, you are this, a witch from pit of hell. Of course, you don't even have to add a witch from pit of hell. It's a witch, it's a dangerous. It's bad by itself. But a witch from pit of hell is dangerous. Okay? It's supposed to be dangerous. This is a daughter-in-law and mother-in-law. They are going after each other. Wow, interesting. Okay, so know about the family you're getting married to. Ask yourself questions. In that family, those who are married, how are they doing there? What's going on there? Don't dismiss it. There could be something going on in the family. If those people who are married there, they beat their wives, there's a good chance you'll be the next victim. I'm telling you. If not, you will become a boxer, fine. But other than that, advise yourself. You see? By the way, it's not just men who beat their wives. I've heard of women who beat their husbands. I'm telling you, a man came to me. I said, Pastor, I need help. I need help. I said, you need help? Okay, pray. What is it? I'm telling you, I know exactly where I was. And the man told me, my wife beat me. For the first time, I said, where is your wife? So I can take vengeance on your behalf. No, I didn't say that. But you see, but here's the point. And it's going to get worse. And he said, my wife beat me. And I didn't know what to say. And I said, is that so? And I said, Reverend, it got worse. Why? He said, my children, my son and my daughter, they joined their mother. Let me tell you something. This one, don't laugh. You know how serious it is. You know the man himself? He was an elder of the church. An elder of the church. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And sincerely said, how could I do? He showed me. He moved his sleeve, rolled up the sleeves, showed me marks. I said, dear God. I said, this woman is dangerous. I said, next time I pray for this kind of women, I'm going to pray. My eyes will be open as I lay my hands upon her. But otherwise, she's going to throw a punch and all that. So know the family you're getting, married to. And then maybe, okay. Take the test of fiduciary. Fiduciary simply means trustworthiness. Okay, trustworthiness. Okay, that's what the point. If your prospective doesn't trust you now, you will not trust you when you get married. That's the point. If they don't trust you before you get married, they won't trust you when you get married. All right. That one, I think I'll leave it there. Or ask you, does your prospective does he or she do something suspicious? It's one of those. If they see you, hi. Or, for example, oh no, he's coming, and they put it on the phone. Or somebody pick up the phone and they'll go to the bathroom or to the basement. Can you hear me? Something is wrong. Something is wrong. Something is wrong. You know, when I travel, when I go, especially when I travel by myself, I'm in a hotel room, I go there, sometimes I call my wife with the kids, and I call them on what? On video, on the first time. Guys, I'm here. Look at this hotel. Ooh, so nice. There's nobody here. Look at the closet. Nobody's here. Nobody's here. There's nobody here. All right. Okay. Test of finances. Maybe this is the last one. Maybe test of finances. Listen. Okay. A test of finances. Now this one, you don't have to know how much somebody has in the bank account before they marry you per se. No, I think that's not it. But the point is that, you see, there's always a potential, because the point of the man, there's always a starting point. Somebody may be broke today, but tomorrow will have a fortune. So be careful how you evaluate people. Oh, he doesn't have money, she doesn't know. No, there's time for everything. You start small. You get the point? One day I went to a restaurant with my family. When I go to a restaurant and the bill came, that's too much. This is too much. In fact, I said, and I told them, this money we just spent here, when I started ministry, that was my paycheck. Huh? And yet, I said, oh, it's okay, we can pay that, that's okay. But things change in life, isn't it? Things change. Things change. When I was single, I used to live in a, you know what they call a studio? A studio means there's no bedroom. Everything is there, bath and everything. And I have books. And when my mama's uncle came to visit me, and this guy is a professor in the university, University of Georgia, and he came around, and I said, wow, I tried to hide some books under the bed to make everything look nice and all that. And you know, and when he saw, when he came around, and he said, are all these books yours? I said, oh, of course. Have you read most of them? I said, oh, most of them I've read them. He shook my hand. Well done. I just knew it's over. This woman, I've taken her to be my wife. That's it. I've taken her to be my wife. I was not asked how much do you have in your account. No. He just knew the books I see here. This man, this girl is is in good hands. My point is that don't despise people based on where they are now. Tomorrow you worship them. Okay? That's the final say. All right. But unfortunately, most marriages in this country, guess what? They fail not because of people cheating on each other. No, it's because of money. It's money. So generally speaking, listen, bank account. Every card I have, my wife has a card. She can go and buy anyone if you want to give. Listen, she has access to the bank account, it's joint account. That's okay. I have never asked my wife once, why did you spend this money here? No. I'm not interested. I don't know. I don't want to know. Well, if the money runs out, guess what? Who's going to suffer? All of us will suffer. That's the issue. Okay? But anyway, all right. I think this is the last one. This is the last one. Test of fear of God. Test of fear. As for this one, don't compromise it. Don't compromise. Because if your prospective spouse doesn't fear God, that person, he will never fear your in-laws. He will never fear you. That's why the fear of God is the beginning of everything. The fear of God. If somebody fears God, you don't have to worry about anything else. But if your wife to be, your husband to be doesn't fear God, my God, you're going to marry an armed robber. He's a dangerous man, dangerous woman. Okay? That's the point. Let me say this one. How do you know? If your prospective person is asking you for sexual favor before you get married, that's a red flag. If your prospective comes around going to kiss you before you get married, it's a red flag. Yes. Yes, it is. There's no authorization. Don't tell me the Bible, we're just kissing. You're not supposed to kiss. That's not your wife. That's not your husband. Oh, I just kiss her on the cheek. That's not your cheek. Kiss yourself if you want. That's the point. Okay? Don't entertain these things. The more you do these things, the more you are setting yourself up for trouble. That's the point. You see, when there is a song that they sing. I think it's a Nigerian song. They say, I'm a Holy Ghost naked fire. I'm the Holy Ghost naked fire. Why? If you touch me, I will shock you. I am a Holy Ghost. You ever heard that song? I should teach you that song. Anytime you bring people of the opposite sex, they are sitting together, electricity begins to flow. Unless you are sitting close to people like us who are reverent, it doesn't happen. No. But do you understand my point here? Listen, don't ignore it. If somebody's telling you, let's go in, I'm telling you. May I say this? If a young boy kisses you once, your stock value begins to go down. Oh my God, don't never forget that. Your stock value, what? Is going down. He has tested you and is testing you. That's it. Before you know it, he loses the enthusiasm. Why should I marry? If the person has slept with you, it's even worse. There's nothing else to motivate that young man to marry you. That's all. They are moving on to the next target. That's the point. So don't forget this. The moment you're going to say, it's okay. If I don't allow this, it's going to leave me. Let him leave you. He's not the only man in this world. He might be the devil. Leave him. If he can't wait for you before you get married, he won't wait for you when you travel. Did you know what I said? If he can't wait for you now to get married, when you travel down the road, that young man will never wait for you. You go for the neighbor. You bring somebody else. That's the point. All right. So, wait till if a young man or maybe slaps your face, then just know he's going to slap you when you get married. He will slap you. Big time. I'm going to come back next week to address some questions. Unless maybe, let me see. Okay, I will take maybe a few questions here and there. I have some questions here. Is that okay? Oh, your time is good too. I should take the questions next week.
Yeah, next week.
Next week, right? Yeah, I can. So I can take my time. Because I have a lot of questions here. About 30 questions. So you can add more questions, okay, to that. And I want to say this, please. If you have made a mistake of being intimate before you are still right now, stop it. Just stop it. Just stop it. Stop it. If you didn't know, now you know. Stop it. Don't touch anything. Don't go to I didn't address things like pornography, go to websites. Don't do those kind of things. Stay away from that. Okay? All right. Let's read the first one. Okay, number one. Pressure shouldn't make you blind. Okay? Second, no wedding. He said, there's no wedding. Well, there's no marriage rehearsal. There is wedding rehearsal, but there's no what? Marriage rehearsal. Don't marry an unbeliever. Descend the believers. Not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, who enter the kingdom. Some people, they come here, they lift their hands. Oh, holy, holy, holy. No, they're looking for a spouse. Be careful. They may not be born again. Okay? Right then. You see, I would rather have somebody break your heart now before you get married, and when you get married. Oh yes, you can recover from it all. Pray before you marry, obviously. Okay? Marriage can either make you or break you. Let's read the last one. The last one. There. Don't what? Don't eat the apple before marriage. Amen. All right. I'm going to pick it up from there next week, one minute, and then we'll see.